Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. I've got an interesting, hopefully thought-provoking podcast for you today. We are talking about avoiding shorthanded tables, or maybe even playing on those shorthanded tables purposefully. So whether it's full ring without all 9 players there, or 6 max without all 6 there, this is what we're discussing today. Go to the show notes page to help you take notes, smartpokerstudy.com/pod511. Let's get to it. Gambate!
Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop ET's ass, that's all.
When you get your chance, you'll all get your chance. Good hunting. Dismissed!
Let's kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
So when it comes to shorthanded play, this can take place on both full ring tables with 9 players generally dealt in or 9-player max, or the shorter 6 max tables. So when all 9 players are present on a full ring game, you see the blinds 2 out of every 9 hands, or only 22% of the time. On a 6 max table with all 6 players in, you see the blinds 2 out of every 6 hands, so that's 33% of the time you're in the blinds. Now for most players, blind play is difficult. For one, in most pots, you're going to be out of position from the blinds. For another, you have that half big blind or 1 full big blind already put in before you even see your cards, and that money out there causes some people to over-defend the blinds, putting themselves out of position to the flop with a far weaker hand than their opponent's open raising range, because they just find it difficult to fold those blinds. Now, if you take a look at your own Poker Tracker 4 database right now, pull up maybe the last 10, 20, 30,000 hands. If you go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod511, you're actually going to see a screenshot of what my last 30,000 hands is. It's slightly under at 29,720 hands, but you can see that I am positive in all the positions other than the blinds. In the small blind, I've lost $14. In the big blind, $82. My win rates in those 2 positions, respectively, are -4 big blinds per 100 hands and -27 big blinds per 100 hands. So I'm doing so much better than folding every hand out of the blinds. But across all 6 positions, EP, MP, cutoff, button, small blind, and big blind, those are my only 2 losing positions over the 30,000 hands. And most of you listening right now, when you pull up your database for a larger sample, like I said, 10, 20, 30,000 or even more hands, you're going to find that more than likely you are losing out of the blinds. And you're winning in the non-blind positions. Out of the EP, MP, cutoff, and button, I'm winning +4 big blinds per 100 hands, +22, +45, +35 big blinds per 100 hands on the button. So much of my profits are coming from the non-blind positions. In a 6 max game, if there's 1 player missing, I'm basically missing out on 1 non-blind position, which so far is a profitable spot for me. If I'd played all these 29,720 hands the exact same way, except I was just missing a position, those EP winnings would be gone. My total winnings over the roughly 30,000 hands would be less if I only saw 5-handed action. What if it was 4-handed action? I was only ever in the cutoff, the button, small blind, and big blind. Now, of course, this is just looking at just the numbers. I'm not talking about what strategy changes would be made by myself or my opponents in shorthanded games. We're just looking at the numbers and the positional profits. So if I was never dealt EP or MP hands, I'd be missing out on $72 in profit. So my $257 winning out of the past 30,000 hands would be only $185 up. And don't worry, we're going to get to some strategery changes that you can make if you are shorthanded, which would help to keep you nice and profitable. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. So if there were only 4 players dealt into all 30,000 of these hands, I would be in the blinds 50% of the time. Outside of the blinds, basically the cutoff and the button, the other 50%. The same kind of math holds true if you're a full ring player. Whip out your database right now, look at your full ring tables, and you're going to find that most likely you're losing in the blinds and you're winning in all the other positions. And just imagine if you were playing with only 7 players dealt in. Remove your winnings from the EP right there. That's what you would have made with everything else being equal, with 2 less people dealt into each hand. So the ultimate tip right now is that I want you to avoid short-handed tables. Now, we all know we play on a daily basis. You cannot 100% avoid it. You sit down, you're the sixth player at a 6-max table. Before you're dealt your first hand, one of the other players exits. And then now when you're dealt your first hand in the big blind, only 5 players dealt in. So you can't 100% avoid it, but you can strive to play on full tables as often as possible. So as soon as 1 or 2 players leave, take a look at the lobby and try to jump on another table that's full, or put your name on a wait list for a full table. The less blinds that you face, or the less blinds as a percentage of your total hands that you face, the less difficult situations you're going to be in, the more profits you're going to generally see. I want to thank some incredible poker peeps for picking up my Get More from Poker Tracker 4 course. This course is teaching them, and it will teach you all that you need to get the most out of Poker Tracker 4. So I got to thank Mark Ailmans, Patrick Keveney, Graham Richardson, Chris Galbraith, Gerald Crone, Gary Hurlbutt, Peter Langley, Tony Martinez, Kelly Oyama, Eugene Nwohia, Susan Braniff, Argo Lewick, Alexander Tapiero, Benoit Berlandier, Chris Pite, Guy Brooks, Andrew Beaver, Daniel Fiore, Usama Rahman, Benjamin Capel, Miar Ahmadi, Abe Kana, Stefan Polvi, Joel Kinanen, Wen Yangming, Shota Yamaguchi, Franco Scalise, John Nicky, John Strano, Greg Clem, and Christian Hart. They went to smartpokerstudy.com/getmorefrompt4 course, or you can find the link going through the show notes page for today, and they picked up this absolute banger of a course with over 7 hours of training video content, 26 total videos, hundreds of downloads, including reports and quick filters, and they're putting all of this to work right now. You could do the same. Just go to smartpokerstudy.com/getmorefrompt4 course, all one word. I also try to avoid heads-up and 3-way situations. Those are short-handed as well. But if you put your name on a waitlist or you just try to get in on a table, the first table that pops up, there's somebody sitting there waiting, and you're the only other person, now it's a heads-up game. That's not what I'm interested in. I want to find tables with a full 6 players, so I'll just automatically leave those tables. I won't even get dealt in to see any heads-up action. I'm just not interested. That's not my kind of game. If that's what you like playing, go ahead and do it. If you want to get practice playing heads-up, go ahead and do that. But if your goal is to be the best 6-max or the best full-ring player that you can be, avoid those short-handed tables. Now, an interesting thing that I learned is that there are 5-handed games out there. Now, if you play on those games, as a full table with all 5 players dealt in, you're automatically seeing the blinds 40% of the time. Now, that's not a bad thing if you like that action that shorter games have. Because here's one of the key reasons why you may choose to stay on short-handed tables. It's that players feel the instinctive need to play more hands. They open raise more, they call more, they defend the blinds more, they 3-bet more. They do all of this because they know there's less players. You're doing the same thing. You're open raising more, so they're going to 3-bet you more. You're defending bigger out of the blinds, like Jack 7 suited you're calling and Queen 4 suited, things like that. So they're going to open raise with a wider range in the cutoff and button as well. Everyone's playing more hands, and as you know, something I've taught in this podcast a ton of times, it's that playing tighter ranges than your opponents gives you that mathematical advantage. So if you can maintain your relatively tight ranges in a short-handed game, you have that much bigger of a mathematical advantage over your opponents. But you have to expect them to play more aggressive in general. You are going to face more open raises, you're going to see more ISO raises, more 3-bets, more C-bets, more check raises, more flop floats, more turn probes. Just more aggression in general. But that's good too. If you're capable of making reads on their aggression with their bet size, with their range in relation to the board, they're committing more chips, potentially more bluffy chips, and you're able to read the situation. You're able to re-bluff them potentially. You're able to call down and bluff catch them with your ace highs, with your top pair weak kicker, and you're able to extract really thin value as well. So I wouldn't fault you if you stay on a short-handed table. But one thing I highly recommend, let's take example, I play 6-max all the time. And all the time one player will leave, boom, 5 players are now being dealt in. It is critical that at least one of your short ring opponents, hopefully 2 or 3, are fish. That means they're playing 30% or more hands. Of course, the more the better, right? And they have some good post-flop tendencies that you can exploit. Because with less players being dealt in, you're going to see the blinds more often. And the blinds, as you know, are losing positions for you. So you want a way to counteract those kind of like expected losses from the blinds. And the best way to do that is to have fish at your table that you can target for value, or you know their post-flop tendencies so you can bluff them post-flop. So let's imagine you do have that great reason to stay 1, 2, 3 big fish at the table. I mentioned earlier, shorthanded games, people feel that they do need to play more hands. So be ready for that. Be ready for that aggression. Before you open raise, look ahead to see who's capable of 3-bet bluffing. Before you call somebody's pre-flop raise, look ahead to 3-bet squeezers. Before you call a c-bet, consider what your opponent's going to do on the turn. What is their turn tendency in this situation? Before you c-bet yourself, is my opponent capable of check raising? He's not going to believe that I have a good hand right now. Can he put me to the test? Is he going to call me on the flop and bet when I check the turn? If you expect and are ready for their aggression, you're better able to fight back against it, to re-bluff them, to potentially get value against their aggressive plays. Now, with less players also gives your opponents more opportunities to be in the blinds. That gives you more opportunities to target the fish in the blinds. So do that as well. Start open raising more in the cutoff and the button when the targets at the table are in the blinds. 5 players dealt in, those fish are in the blinds 40% of the time. If you can isolate them in the blinds more often than your opponents can, you're putting yourself in more positive EV money-making situations than all of your opponents are. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is maybe another good reason to stay at these short-handed tables is to give yourself more practice to play out of the blinds. Blind defense choices, whether it's calling or 3-betting, those can cost a lot of you a lot of money. If you've known for a long time that you're losing money in the blinds with your calls and your 3-bets, or maybe just your calls and you never 3-bet except with aces, you need to work on your blind play. I have some links to prior podcast episodes in the show notes page that's going to teach you good blind defense strategies. So what I'd recommend you to do is to study those things, play with purpose to improve your blind play, and if you do find yourself on a short-handed table, just stay there. Let's go from full ring, 9 players, 2 hands in the blinds. That's 22% of the time you're in the blinds. That's not too many opportunities every round to defend the blinds to improve your blind playing skills. But let's say 4 players are gone. Now there's 5 players dealt in. You're in the blinds 40% of the time. That's almost double the opportunities to practice your blind playing skills. And that's a great reason to stay on those short-handed tables. Alrighty, thank you so much for listening today and spending some of your study time with me. I hope I've given you some food for thought when it comes to playing on short-handed tables or getting off of them and finding full tables. Please go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod511 to help you take notes with today's episode. And in the sidebar, you can sign up for my How to Win online poker workshop, where you're going to learn the 3 secrets that I teach all my students that are critical to winning in poker. Until next time, take action both on and off the felt to become the player that you want to be.